Welcome to Mastering ServiceTitan, where we get expert advice from power users. I'm your host, Josh Liu, and today I'm joined by James Beyer, the owner of Beyer Plumbing, and we're jumping into the topic of Pricebook Pro, how to get the most out of it. And so, James, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Of course, I'm super excited to dive into this topic. Pricebook Pro has a dear part of my heart because when I first joined ServiceTitan, they had me work on the marketing for Pricebook Pro, and wow, it has evolved so much since then. And for those maybe living under a rock or new to ServiceTitan, if they don't know what Pricebook Pro is, can you give us a brief explanation?
Absolutely. Pricebook Pro is a pro product that you can purchase alongside inside ServiceTitan, but it does more than a lot of other things that you would think of. So Pricebook is always one of those things in the service industry where we always get hung up on how difficult it could be, how complex it could be, how many items that are in it. It can go on and on and on. Pricebook Pro did a really good job of making it where you can customize it based on your industry, and then you can make it lean, as lean as you want it, or you can make it as complex as you want it. And so what ServiceTitan has done is they've helped all of us service-minded people, and they've come up with all these tasks and services for us already out of the box. So that way, when you're ready to turn it on, it's ready for you to go. It's a really good product that they have. Just to kind of help any service business of any size get started.
Yeah, so it's a perfect flat rate price book. You can get started with it and kind of go from there out of the box. It's funny, I remember, I think maybe in my first month here, I was asking people, how do contractors think about Pricebook? And she said, contractors, they think about it like doing their taxes. It's like something you have to do, you got to work on it, but it's like, I'm not looking forward to this.
That is so true.
So with that mindset, can you take us back to before Pricebook Pro and what kind of Pricebook you had and what were some of the challenges that you had with it?
So before we had Pricebook Pro, we had our own custom Pricebook that it came along with us when we started ServiceTitan. And so we brought it over and it brought over all of our different services or tasks, whatever you may want to call it. It was the most complex thing that we could probably bring over. Everything was based off of like a numbering system, and it depended on what category it was. It was a different number. And then at the end of that 12-digit number would give you the minutes that you're actually working. And so that for a long time, a lot of our technicians, that's how they function. They realize, okay, well, I'm going to be doing this for 30 minutes. I'm going to find the task that has a 30 on the end of it. So it was a lot of numbers. It was a lot of issues. And then on top of that, it just came in as a flat rate. For many years that we were sitting here as we were starting ServiceTitan and diving more into it, we realized that the Pricebook was one of our weakest links. For years, it sat on top of our to-do list. Okay, we're going to fix the Pricebook. We're going to fix the Pricebook. And so finally, we jumped in. I jumped in. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna do it this year. This year of 2022, whatever it may have been. It was like 2022. I'm going to make it the year of the Pricebook, and I'm going to do it. And so all year round, I went through our existing Pricebook, leaning it down. I was trying to get rid of all the fluff, trying to rename things, doing all the things just to make it easier. We got to a point where we realized that our Pricebook was not made for ServiceTitan, is what we had to realize. And so it had no way of differentiating between the materials and the labor. And so that was the biggest thing. Coming out of COVID, you had a huge spike in material costs that the service industry was having to eat a lot of because our Pricebooks weren't catching up in time. And then on top of that, labor was going up. So labor cost was going up. So we had no way to be able to differentiate between the labor and the material. We couldn't bring up the material cost and bring up the labor cost. And so it was not working. And so finally, when I went to Pantheon, I went into the pro products area and I sat with the guys and I talked to them about Pricebook, and they definitely sold me. They were like, oh, when I walked in, they were like, this guy's a sucker. He's going to buy it. For sure. And so I walked them through our pain points and they were like, oh man, you're the perfect person for this. Lo and behold, it's one of my favorite products because it was an easy implementation for that reason. And it got us what we needed.
Wow. That is so funny. It reminds me of this idea that a lot of people don't change something until it becomes way too painful. And they're like, you know what? Okay, I can't deal with this anymore. Now is the day we're going to start over. So can you go into a little bit of the details of how it was set up before? It sounds like, if I'm hearing you correctly, did you have like one service or task and then just the price? There was no labor like sold hours linked to it and there was no materials linked to it. It was just kind of one item for every service.
Right. So it had just like the price that we brought in. So like from this other system that we had out, some other third party program that we had made and used, it created this price. And so when we brought in our price book, it was just a flat rate. It had the labor hours on there that needed to be tweaked. But other than that, whenever you would go and if you needed to change anything, you couldn't figure out how much material cost was in that price. And so what we had to do for, that year of me trying to figure out the price book, we just had to go to the price builder on the side of the price book and just kind of add in, you would say, increase this by a certain percentage. And we had to do that just to get by, just to kind of help us figure out how to fix it and what the right solution was.
And during that year of the price book, were you working on this like a daily thing, like chipping away at it? Or was it more like, you know what, I'm taking this weekend and like every quarter I'm just going to review like a bunch of items? What did that look like?
I think it was more like a once a week type of thing. It was like I try to chip away at it, and then you'd get frustrated and be like, "Yeah, this is not worth my time right now. There's other stuff going on." So just little things at a time, little by little.
Gotcha. Doing your taxes every week for
Yeah.
months and months. And then you mentioned that you realized the price book was the weakest link in the business. Is there a specific situation or like breaking point that made you realize that?
Absolutely. One, because we couldn't keep up with the material costs. And so every week during that time, we were all being hit with notices about, copper piping going up, water heater. They love to up their water heaters. Anytime there's a natural disaster in any of the Gulf Coast, say we have a hurricane, it could rain tomorrow, we're getting notices already from all the PVC people, so like, oh, well, we're going up in price because of XYZ. So, during that time, it was a lot. And I know everyone on here probably has felt that pain. It was just hard to keep up with. By having it and trying to figure out how to fix that problem is where we came down to finally implementing Pricebook Pro. I started, late in 2021, probably looking into it. And then by 2022, we were full on trying to find something. And then by end of April, when I went to Pantheon, that's when I was like, this is the solution. So it took, 5 months to find the right solution, or more than 5 months really, but it turned out really good.
Awesome. I'm glad it turned out good. What did the transition look like? Like, what'd you do with that old price book, and how'd you transfer over everything that needed to and delete things that you didn't need? Like, what was that like?
So what it started out was I sat down with the service manager and was like, hey, let's look at this price book. Then we're going to compare. This is what Pricebook Pro is and has. It was like printing out the whole Excel spreadsheet, which is like 8 million lines long. And like, let's compare, like, what do we need to keep? What do we need to go? And so for a while we sat there and like, okay, well, maybe we need to keep these certain tasks. Maybe we need to get rid of these certain tasks. And then so we went back through and we're like, okay, well, maybe we, do these certain things. And then after a while, it was just obvious. It was like, I don't need anything from the old price book. This is not making any sense. We're going to throw the whole thing out and we're just going to completely go in Pricebook Pro all in. And so that's what we did. It made it an easy transition, really, because I was like, you know what? There's no point in us losing all this time and effort of trying to mesh it together with something else. We're going all in on it and we're going to make it work. And so that's exactly what we did. Amazing.
So just burn the boats. It's gone.
Yeah. Got rid of that thing. Oh man, I don't want to see it again.
I know in Pricebook Pro, I don't know if this feature came out by the time you started with it, but there's something called Smart Start now, where in like 5 steps, you like pick your trade, you pick your size, your region, and it'll like pull in basically like an 80-20 version, like 80% of everything you need. And I think it's in minutes. You can get started right away and then kind of fill in the rest later. Was that how it was when you started with it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, cool.
They made it so easy. Like you go in there, go to the catalog, you pick your industry, you pick what inside the plumbing industry that you want to bring over. And you don't have to bring over everything in there. We don't have everything that Pricebook Pro has in our price book. We have a lot of it, probably about 85% or more. But it has so many different things that they've come up with over the years. And now with AI or TI, with all that, it's amazing. And so it made it everything so easy that we went in there, we grabbed what we needed. And then if we didn't have it right away, say we went on a job and we went to a job and they're like, hey, this random thing is not in our price book anymore. Like, what happened? I could go on there, go to the catalog, and be like, oh, well, here, we forgot to bring it over from Pricebook Pro. We would activate it, bring it over, instantly it gets plugged into our price book. They sync it, and it's there.
So easy.
It's so easy.
How about the change management? Like, what did that look like? When did you start telling your technicians and guys in the field that, this change is coming, and were they all pissed, and how'd you handle all that?
No, I think they all understood that we had a price book problem. And so they all understood that, hey, we're gonna make it a little bit easier. Beforehand, everything was all written out. You had to find your way through our maze of how we mapped everything. And then once we got into Pricebook Pro, ServiceTitan has these really beautiful graphics, and that makes it really easy. So you just click on what you're doing. What part of the house are you in? I'm in the kitchen. What am I doing? Sink repair. It made it so easy for everybody that I think it sped everything up, because it was just so much easier to find what item you needed and to be working on.
Yeah, you didn't have to decode that 12-digit number and look at the time. Oh my gosh. So was it that easy? You guys just switched on a end of day Friday or something, and then Monday everyone just showed up and they were all happy with it?
Yeah, and we did a training. We said, here, this is how you get around it. This is how you navigate it. If you can't find something, just call us and let us know, and we'll help you. We'll walk you through it. It was pretty fast, and everyone that adopted to it was, they were all positive about it, and they realized how much easier it was to find everything. So it really did make an easy transition from the office side all the way down to the field techs.
How about the maintenance of the price book these days? How often are you looking at it, making adjustments? Were there things missing you had to add back in?
Yeah, so we do that at the end of the year. We look back through, mainly because we want to see how our efficiencies are on all of our services. So we pull a report, job type report, and then we kind of go from there, and we kind of say, okay, well, what's going on with these job types? What are we using in them? Are we being efficient in them? Are we keeping our times correct? What's going on? So we do that pretty much for sure every year. Between there, we're tweaking it constantly. We're gonna make this special, or we'll make a special, or we'll make a new item that may not be in it, coordinating that with our vendors and our consignment and trying to get all that through. It gets tweaked quite a bit. And then the material gets updated monthly, so that way we can have material constantly the correct amount. So through there. So it's always being adjusted, I guess, is what I should say.
Yeah. Are you using the automated material price updates, or how I think you can check and accept some of them and not accept some? Is that how you're updating materials, or are you doing it on your own separately?
So we partner with our consignment vendor, Hajoka. And so they give us a material. They know our material that's in our price book. And so they will give us our exact material cost for that. But Pricebook does have a great feature of what you just talked about. And it does have that. If you don't have that same relationship that we have with our consignment, they have that material that they're looking out for you on. And it will notify you, say, hey, this material has gone up X amount, percentage or whatever it may be. You may want to look into changing it. And so that was one of the really cool selling features too on Pricebook Pro, is that not only is it going to make it easier for you, but it's always in the background, it's looking out for you. And they do that with looking at the material costs, and it looks at dynamic pricing, which we haven't talked about yet, and then what may be changing in the background. So it's always looking at things to help you and make sure that you're giving your best pricing to all of your customers.
Well, we should definitely talk about dynamic pricing. This is a ServiceTitan core feature, so you don't have to be on Pricebook Pro. But I know this, in order to set it up, you need the sold hours and the linked materials. And so with Pricebook Pro, it already comes with that. So you can basically just turn on dynamic pricing in a couple steps. This kind of goes back to what you were saying earlier with Pricebook being the weakest link, because it touches so much within ServiceTitan. It's kind of like the backbone of ServiceTitan. And so when you have a messed up Pricebook, so many other things get messed up. Can you share about your experience with dynamic pricing and how advantageous it's been to have that?
Yeah, I loved how simple it made it. And so once you figure out your labor rate that you need to be charging, then you go in there, you plug that in, and then it takes you to the next step. It's like the most easiest thing. And then you're like, okay, well, what material markups do you want to do? You could be across the board. Hey, I'm going to mark up this percentage across the board. Or you can do a ladder type thing. It just depends on, it's a weighted scale. So you can do it that way. Well, on top of that, they added in all these extra cool features where if it's a weekend, are you going to go up in price? If it's a holiday, if it's after hours, you have all these rules that you can make that you can the price book automatically adjusts to where things are. I think it even goes into capacity. It uses your whole ServiceTitan platform and makes sure that you're going to get paid what you need to be paid, and you're going to use the exact what you need to be using on a job to become, profitable.
Yeah, so you can like have your desired margin and then basically back into it with all these rules, and you just set the rules, and then every time a technician pulls up, that item, the price will automatically adjust. If it's, after hours, a weekend, it'll automatically show the right price so that you get that margin that you're looking for across the board. And they don't have to think about it, which is really, you don't have to duplicate items. Now you have like giant price book and all that. So yeah, I love that feature. I think it's really underrated. It's a core feature. So I feel like everyone should definitely be using that feature.
That'll save you. And it's like, then they also have a regional average. So then you can see how much people around your area, whatever the region that you're in, you can see what people are charging for that particular task that are also in Pricebook. I think they've talked about it. I know Vahe's talked about it and talks about how during that time, it was so hard for all of the ServiceTitan customers to keep up with material costs. And so this was the solution. We need to revamp our price book. We need to make it where it's easier for everyone to use, to make sure that nobody wants to go out and do business for free. So make sure everyone is being at the profit that they want and they need to be able to function. And that's exactly what ServiceTitan did. And they delivered. Again, it's one of my favorite products.
Yeah, I love hearing the passion in your voice about, especially because of how rough it was before.
Yeah.
So like it really, it made a big impact. So yeah, that regional pricing average is really cool. That part is only in Pricebook Pro, but yeah, you can see where your business kind of stacks up. Can you talk a little bit about templates? Were you using estimate and proposal templates before Pricebook Pro, and has Pricebook Pro made an impact on your use of templates?
Yeah, we had a couple in there, or a few really, that we've created with the old Pricebook stuff, because you kind of had to. It's like, okay, well, we need to kind of make something up. We're also BDR members, and so we're very big proponents on always offering good, better, best, fantastic type of options. So how can we give something to the guys to make it easier for them so when they show up to a job, boom, they can make sure that they have the good, better, best, fantastic, or whatever it may be, options ready for the customer. And so with the templates in the price book, you're able to do that, and you create your proposal templates and your regular templates, and then you kind of curate it to what you want. It's the easiest way for us to do specials. And so whenever we're doing this particular special, like right now down here in San Antonio, we're doing, if you buy a water softener, we're giving you a free RO. So it's an easy for us to add in these items where it's making that service, it's making those tasks. We can go in there, add in that RO, so that way when the guys are on the job, it's really simple and it's easy for them to keep up with and add to the projects. And so the templates, it keeps everything updated. It's dynamic, so if you change the price in the price book, it's automatically going to change it across the board. Everyone gets synced, and I mean it's a really great tool.
Yeah, for those who don't use estimate proposal templates, wow, are they missing out? Like the average ticket rates and going up, the close rates going up. Like you've already paid so much just to be at that customer's house, and so really want to maximize it.
And what's really neat is that they came out with TI to help you. So now you can also turn on the function of TI, the AI component of ServiceTitan. If you turn that on, it will look back at your past projects, and it will actually create templates for you based off of what you were, previously done. Really neat insight, because you kind of see, okay, well, apparently we do a lot of toilets. It's like it'll pull all random things for you, but it's a really neat tool, and it created all these new templates, proposal templates, whatever it may be, and so it's made it really simple. So if you're looking for simple, that you just want to jump on and have a bunch of things ready, it definitely does that for you already. And you just have to push a button and you're ready to go.
How does that one work? So it looks at everything that's been sold in the past, and it'll just generate some for you. Do you have to like accept them all and they're all yours now, or do you just select some of them? Or
so what happens is, I think it pulls it in, and then you can go in there and deactivate the ones that you don't want. So that's one of those things where we activated it, and then we'll go and we'll purge it and be like, okay, well, we won't be using these. These are a little bit off. It's AI, so it's pretty accurate, but it's not always going to be accurate. So you got to make sure you do your due diligence and go in there and make sure that you're getting rid of the things that you don't want to show up and make no sense.
Right. Sounds like a great starting point. If you're on Pricebook Pro, yeah, just pull those in and then boom, all of a sudden you have a starting place and you go make your tweaks later. But it saves a lot of time and it's not as intimidating looking at a blank sheet and now having to come up with it on your own. You talked about specials, and in our pre-interview when we brainstormed about this, this was one kind of caveat you wanted to warn people about if they're doing specials when it comes to like activating, deactivating. Yeah. Can you talk a little bit about and like warn our customers of what can go wrong here?
Yeah, of course. So what we've had in the past is actually recently, we forgot to deactivate a special that we were running a couple months ago. And so we all communicated, hey, this is only for this month. We're only doing this particular task. It's drain cleaning for this, low amount of money just for this certain month. And then lo and behold, 2 weeks ago, surprise, somebody used that task. We're like, hey, what is going on? Why are you using this? Where did you find this? And it's because we forgot to go in and deactivate it. And so that's important. It was like, if you're doing a quick promotion, if you're trying to do those things, you got to make sure that you're going back and doing your due diligence of turning it off and or turning it on, whatever it may be. And so make sure you are paying attention to what's in your price book at all times.
Do you have any other warnings or watch out fors when it comes to Pricebook Pro and people implementing it?
If anything, I think it's just encouragement, like such an easy way to help your company and become more profitable, become more efficient, whatever it may be. Pricebook is the solution, I believe. I'm a huge, this is like I'm hype girling the whole time. And so when I'm on discovery calls, if I'm on a call with the contractor that's maybe on the fence about ServiceTitan, I make sure to always bring up Pricebook because it does so much and it really does help your company. We do residential and commercial, and so we have customer specific pricing for certain customers around our area. And we do all that as time and material. And so whenever you're automatically at that job or that location, when you pull up a time and material, task, it's already going to know what labor rate to put it at. It's really smart. It keeps you functioning, and it's one of the best tools I believe that ServiceTitan has.
Yeah, client-specific pricing. That one's the one. That one's a core feature. And is that the one you basically set up a rate sheet or something like that for each specific client? And that way, when you go do a job for that client, those prices for that client will be applied correctly. You don't have to, duplicate your price book and name all the things. So I know we covered some stuff that's core, some stuff that's pro. But what's nice about Pricebook Pro is that was like the first step, right? You got rid of the old one. Got the new one in, and then from there expanded into creating the templates, the dynamic pricing, the client-specific pricing. And so, it really is that backbone or starting place. How hard do you think it would have been to set up all these other things with your old price book? Like, could you have...
Woo! We talked about it. We were about to do it. So it was one of those things where it was a long spreadsheet. And so sitting there looking at this daunting spreadsheet and figuring out, making sure that we could import it into ServiceTitan. So we had to create all these different columns, figure out the material cost, what that was in there, figure out the labor, labor cost, labor rate, whatever it may be. That was all I had to figure out into the Excel spreadsheet before you can import it. But what lacks, if you do it that way, is that you also have no way to link materials to those services. Right now, we're able to go in there. All of our services can have all these linked materials and equipment and whatever it needs to be. But that material cost changes on our import. It changes in that price changes, and it's automatically going to sync. If we did it the other route, if we kept our old price book and we kind of piecemealed it together with what the material cost is and everything, we would still be stuck back in 2022. Like we wouldn't have functioned as fast. I'd say 22, maybe 21. We would be stuck back there in the same spot, and there's no way to move forward. And so by joining in Pricebook Pro and doing all this, it brings your whole company forward, I believe. It helps you customize everything. It keeps you on task, all the different tasks that you need. I mean, to me, it was a no-brainer at the time. And no so it still is a no-brainer. It's one of those things where I tell people all the time coming to ServiceTitan, you really should look at Pricebook Pro and what it could help your company do, because it's truly one of the best ones.
That's awesome. No wonder the sales guys at Pantheon were like, "Oh man,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
really."
This guy's a sucker. Yeah. I'm definitely a sucker.
I know we've been hyping it up a lot. What is the most challenging or difficult part of Pricebook Pro, either when you first started or now, that people should keep an eye out for?
I think it's just keeping up with it. Again, don't be like me and leave a special that is still in there that one day you'll walk in and be like, wait a second, why are we doing this? Make sure that you're doing your own process of keeping up with it, purging what you don't need, adding in what you will need, because there's going to be all special times you're going to add in all these little things, and you're going to add in all your own little nuances that may be custom to your own company and what you do in your industry. And so, I mean, those are all great. You can add those in. It all still works with whatever custom thing that you're bringing in. And the biggest thing is it works great with job costing. Going back, making sure you set it up right the first time. So that way, when you're doing your actual job costing reports, looking back at how profitable you are on specific jobs or projects or whatever it may be, or job types, making sure it's all set up beforehand correctly. And so that way you're getting your correct job costing and accurate amounts. Accurate hours. For us, we do everything off of billable efficiencies. So making sure that our guys are billing 100% or more of the hours that they're working. And so that's kind of what they're spiffed on. And so that has been very helpful. So making sure that you have accurate labor amounts, labor hours is important.
It sounds like you can't just get Pricebook Pro and it's going to solve all your problems. There's, it's still work. You still got to maintain and keep on top of it. But I guess that's the challenge of any price book. So
yeah.
Any closing thoughts or advice for people listening when it comes to Pricebook or Pricebook Pro?
Yeah, I think if you're on the fence about it, if you have a complicated price book like I had that you've been carrying around for a long time, I would definitely look into what Pricebook Pro can help you do. And it's a great thing that's going to keep growing. It's never going to stop. ServiceTitan is number one at listening to your pain points and helping you through them. So if you have any issues, if you have any questions about Pricebook, how your Pricebook would work in the Pricebook Pro system, they're always there to help you answer those questions too. It's a great community, and you're always going to have somebody to have your back and to help you through it. But if you're definitely on the fence, look into it. It's going to save you. It's going to save you lots of time and lots of effort that you may not get doing something else. So.
Yeah, we'll put a link in the description if you want to go check out a demo of Pricebook Pro. And then if you're already on Pricebook Pro, take advantage of how easy and great everything is set up in the foundation and use those estimate proposal templates. Get dynamic pricing set up. If you're doing some commercial, use client-specific pricing and make sure you maximize what you already have. And so I love that we covered everything, some of the core stuff and the pro stuff today. I appreciate you sharing with us your story. What a cool turnaround in the business. So thank you for coming on, James.
Yeah, no, it was a pleasure.
Awesome. We will catch you all on the next episode.